Hello and welcome to the show. I am here on Project Cars today, going to be trying to hold on to a Sauber C9 around a very snowy Nurburgring, all in the name of trying to beat a little Audi hatchback. Yes, this monstrous Group C car is going up against an all-wheel drive Audi. Of course, the Audi has much grip and much traction when it comes to the snow. This car, I am suspecting it probably won't. With over 700 horsepower, the turbo, or the boost from the turbos, is going to be turned up to maximum. This is likely to be a monster. This is likely to be an utter monster. And I'm trying to wrestle it around the Nurburgring. Now, of course, at the end of the day, this is still an insanely fast race car, so there is certainly the potential that I will be able to extract enough performance out of it to beat that Audi. After all, the V8 supercar did a 927. It did get very, very close, and that was with a spin towards the end of the lap. So this might just be able to do it, but it's going to have to be very carefully does it. It's going to have to be very carefully does it, because in this series, I've got one chance. I've got one lap at this circuit to try and get the required speed. Which means you have to find a very good balance between being brave and going fast, because you want to set a good lap time, and not stuffing your car into the wall. Now, I'm hoping this is going to have saved. Well, I wanted to see if this car was something we could adjust the boost with. There we go, okay, so it has saved. So I did load up a quick race and just saved a setup with the boost at 100%. Everything else on this car is as the game wants to kind of set it up, auto set it up for these conditions, which means we have got the best tyres that we can. You see the tyres automatic by weather. So everything is as ready for some snow driving as it possibly can be, except for perhaps me. I'm not sure I'm ready for some snow driving. Here we go. Here we go with the infamous Sauber. Now, with the turbos turned up to 100%, that will give the car a sudden amount of boost. Like a very, very sharp amount of boost, all of a sudden at high points in the rev range. I'm probably not going to be going up to high points in the rev range very often, not considering what I'm doing around here. I'm not actually sure the 100% turbos are going to really be felt for the majority of this, but if they are felt, that's when we have trouble. Now, the first part of this lap is always going to be a little bit tentative, a little bit sensitive. Got to try and figure out what can I do with the brakes, what can I actually do with the throttle, what can I do with the steering, and so on. With the car, oh, there we go. It's already that was like 40 miles an hour. The back end does not have as much grip as I would like it to. Christ, it is slidier than the V8 supercar. Now, the V8 supercar was heavier than the Sauber, and I think that might help it. The Sauber, much more powerful and potentially faster in a straight line when we can use some of that power. I mean, we are up to 112 miles an hour already, but it's going to be gingerly does it over here, because it's not building confidence. The V8 supercar is quite quick to build some confidence at the back of it was actually going to stick on the road. Well, I mean, as much as you can at a snowy Nürburgring, this car isn't. I am very, very nervous. We're doing 140, 150 miles an hour now, which is a lot of miles an hour for the conditions. Please have grip. Please have grip. Oh, I'm trying to do the smallest little steering movements in here. Please don't let go again. Christ. Oh, God. Much like we saw a bit with the V8 supercar, when the front end bites when you turn into the corner, when the tyres find some grip, the front end bites, the rear just can't go with it. The rear just can't hold on. I had hoped perhaps a car like this with a huge wing at the back, maybe the downforce would help it. At the end of the day, the downforce is not really going to be affected by the snow here. The downforce will still push the car into the ground. It's just it can push it into the ground all it likes, but if the tyres don't have the grip to do anything with it, then it's not so good. We've had some... It's kind of strange. The back end goes in this in such a slow manner, but it's so it's so easy for it to look very lazy in spinning around when there's just nothing that you can do. And it will be an embarrassing spin with it if it goes around in that manner. Well, I say it will look like it's just because of how lazy the car is in terms of, I say how lazy it is, but how low speed it is that the back end is going to let go in this thing. It is I'm more in danger of spinning it because I've turned in too tightly into a corner, I think, than from outright power. I can do the delicate with the throttle. I mean, I can spin it on the throttle, of course you can, but the front end having more grip than quite a lot more grip, quite a lot more bite than the rear. That's where the fear is coming in. If we're gonna beat the Audi, it's going to be through sheer straight line speed in a couple of sections. We're going to have to make up. And, you know, let's face it, the Sauber Mercedes is a very quick car down the straight. He's going to have to make up time on the straight over that Audi, because through here, again, you can see that the little throttle bar going on down the side there. You can see how gingerly I'm having to deal with the throttle and deal with the brakes. Oh, there we go. That was now that's very similar to the way I binned the V8 supercar. Actually, the back end started going. I went to catch it, and in catching it, overcorrected. The front end bit and then threw me in the wall the direction that I was catching it. Thankfully, we were slowing down and we had enough time to do everything. Yeah, I'm not getting confidence from this car at all. Not in the same way. Like, by this point with the V8 supercar, I was starting to be that bit more aggressive. We got to full throttle a few more times and was, actually being a bit brave with it through the corners. This, I can't. This, I can't even contemplate full throttle at the moment. Not when there's crests, not when there's bumps. Down the back straight, of course we will. But here, right, this is terrifying. We're in fourth gear and still it's just too bumpy to even think about it. We might get a little bit more power down here. What are we doing speed-wise? We are pretty damn fast. It's not slow. It's slow for what one of these would be doing in normal conditions, but we're still up to the 140, 150 mile an hour mark in bloody snow in a Group C car with 100% turbos. I don't think we've actually really kicked the turbos on, quite frankly, because we've not really gone much past about 6,000 RPM, because it should be stupid to. Yeah, 6,000 RPM is a silly RPM to go to in this car. Oh, another little bit of a... I think it might be slightly rear locking that's going on there. Okay, we've had a slight catch. Much the same with the V8 supercars, I'm not worried if the lap time becomes invalidated, because I'm only losing time if I end up running across the circuit. Certainly with the way that I'm trying to be driving these cars, I'm not going to be intentionally corner cutting, etc. Run around the carousel we go. Still don't trust this car whatsoever. I just can't. I just cannot trust this vehicle to deploy all of its power. I would be interested to know just how much of the 700 or more horsepower is being used at this stage. I would be very curious to know, because I'm probably only using a couple of hundred of it through most of these corners. I just can't use more. Now, time-wise, I think we're doing fairly well. We've got 3 minutes or so remaining. It feels pretty similar in terms of the V8 supercar, although trying to remember and keep an eye on the time is not a good idea. There's a lot more other important things to be concentrating on. Now, coming up is where we had our spin, our semi-spin in the V8 supercar, so let's try and avoid doing that in the Mercedes. This is the technical part of the Nurburgring now. It wasn't here where we spun the V8 supercar, but that was a new one. We caught it. It was down here that we got into trouble over the crest. So let's be a tad more careful with the Sauber. Things are good. That's a yell. When it goes wrong, it really, really goes wrong quickly in this. And again, this is me being pretty careful. I say pretty careful. This is me being ridiculously careful with the throttle. That's why we have to be ridiculously careful with the throttle. I thought we were good. I thought we were good over there. Thought we were sorted. I thought we were set to put the power down. and we weren't. We weren't. Now again, it's not the worst spin that I've ever done. We have recovered the car quite quickly. It might mean, do we have to go for a bit more bravery now? Bravery is when things start getting dicey. When you start trying to push to, well, I say make up time, that's when we're going to get into trouble. We're at like 100 miles an hour as we're changing directions down here. I am in some ways as terrified of braking as I am of the old the old throttle usage. Because yeah, if you lock the rears, the way it tips the car into the corner, that's when it's very, very difficult to gather it all back up again. And the bank corner's not too bad to deal with, actually. The banking, quite nice being able to run the cars through there. We might actually finally get to full throttle and actually use all of the turbos as we head on to this back straight. Here we go, Sauber. Now we can really open the taps and see what you can do. Oh, bloody hell, it's quick. Now, the ice tyres, the snow tyres on this car will restrict their top speed in comparison to what they could do normally. This is still going to do 200 miles an hour in the snow. Oh, it's not quite. There we go. 200 miles an hour in the snow as we go barreling up towards the bridge. Now, I'm not going to take 200 miles an hour into there. The downforce should be good to get us through the corner slightly. But now we've really got to slow down because this is a tight turn. This is a very, very tight turn. We're certainly not going to be beating the Audi. I don't think we're going to be beating the V8 supercar either, despite a 200 mile an hour run down that final start-finish stretch. It's not going to be enough as we round the last corner, try and use some of that power. There's a wiggle towards the line. It's a 9:35. It's a 9:35 from the Sauber. Yeah, it was a spin. It was a spin that I didn't want to do that will have cost us a bit of time. I'm going to be honest, without that spin, it wasn't beating the Audi. That wasn't beating the Audi at all. Would have probably been quite close to the V8 supercar. I don't actually think it would have done it either. It would have been close. It would have been very close. The V8 supercar. But I don't think it would have got it. We held on. That is terrible. Like, you go near the throttle and the back end moves around. But in many ways, it's the braking as well. It's that the way that the front end grips, the way that the front end turns in to the corner, and the back end just can't live with it. The back end cannot go with it whatsoever. At the higher speeds, it's okay. That corner at the bottom of the straight, we were at 200 miles an hour. Okay, I slowed down, but, you know, it was, I don't know, about 160 probably when we took that corner. The car had the grip because the downforce was working, but at these lower speeds, I can't go quickly through here. We can't go at silly speeds through here. We can't go at the speeds really required to make the downforce work because, well, it's on snow and the car doesn't have grip, so you do that all the time. It's, God, finding a balance is tough. The faster you go, the more downforce you get from a car like this, certainly. But the faster you go on snow, you've got to be going fast enough for the downforce to really work, and you've still got to worry about traction from the tyres and so on. Downforce can only do so much. That was a tough one. That was a tough one indeed to get around here. The Sauber is going to go into third place on our little leaderboard. The Audi A1 will remain. It's very rare that you will say this. However, the Audi will beat a V8 supercar and a Group C race car. Who knows what manner of pain you guys are going to try and put me through with the next vehicle to take on this challenge. That, though, is going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, goodbye. See what happens when I'm not being sensible.